out of all the stuff I've posted on my YouTube channel, the snoring videos are the most popular. They get the most number of views, the most number of clicks on the like button, and the most number of comments as well. But I've got to be careful with my bills just at the moment, and it's probably best leaving another snoring video till next month now, because I've got to be careful with my bills at the moment. I can't really. If I did a video, another snoring video any time, a snoring video now, it'd have to be with with the light turned off. But I know you all prefer to see me snoring, don't you? So what? I'll do another one next month. But this discussion is about the topic of it is, what were the first computer games you ever bought? Well, my first computer was a Sinclair ZX Spectrum 16K, and I think one of the first ones probably was Horace Goes Skiing, or maybe one of the Hungry Horace games for the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. I don't know if I ever said 16K or 48K. When I first got it, it was only 16K of RAM. That's 16,000 RAM. Because sometimes get my words confused. But when I first got it, it was only 16K of RAM, and there weren't many games you could get for it if it was only 16K of RAM. Most commercial software was beyond the capacity of the memory of a 16K RAM computer. For this thing, when after I left school, I had the memory upgraded to a 48K, and there was much more software you could get for it. But with it, you got a cassette tape provided with the actual computer. I think there was only one. I think it was Horizons. Oh, I'll change the direction of filming in now. Stuff off my telly like I do. What's coming on now? Nothing's happening. Nothing's coming on for some reason or other. I'll type in Spectrum Horizon. That's Hammer Horror stuff. There it is. Right now, hopefully if I click on this now, the video should come on. Loading, it says. The ads are coming on.
We're here to help you find the right one, like the one with the perfect size boot.
Leaving a delightful racing game. We got stuck on.
Right, let's rewind the video back to the beginning. This is the actual tape that you got provided with the cassette tape that you got provided with your computer.
Horizon Software Starter Pack. I've had this cassette knocking around for years, being the tape bundled with new ZX Spectrums from their launch in 1982. Evidently, the first tape I and many other Spectrum owners got their hands on. Only it wasn't. I'm talking absolute drain spout. I've just stolen the intro from Nostalgia Nerds video on the same subject.
The Horizons Software Starter Pack. I've had this cassette knocking around for years. Being the tape bundle with the used Spectrums from their launch in 1982, it's evidently the first tape I and those owners got their hands on.
You see, I didn't get the Horizon Software Starter Pack. I had a ZX Spectrum Plus 2. I got a pack of crap games that I still secretly love. I didn't get this magical journey into the world of Spectrum software that so many of you ancient old people got. I was young and full of energy and hopped up on Oh Mummy. So when a bloody patron comes along, this one, and they say, "Can you do me a video on the Horizons tape?" And I just go, "Yeah, nice one, sounds good," without thinking about it in any way whatsoever. I've got a predicament on my hands. Because the Horizons tape in the year 2022, which, if you're unaware, is the year of now, is crap. It's really boring. It's so boring and so outside my wheelhouse that I had to steal Nostalgia Nerd's intro just to get my foot in the door.
But here's the thing. I've never even attempted to load it up, and I bet many other Spectrum owners are exactly the same.
Oh, right. Okay, well, apparently I'm not too far behind the curve because it seems that the Horizons tape just wasn't that much of a draw for the average Spectrum user. Having gone through it, I can see bloody why. It's about as entertaining as a cabbage. But that's because I'm here, sat in my futuristic chair, on my futuristic computer, in the futuristic year of now, instead of the black and white times of then. So this is hard. This is a video where I have to sort of go and look at stuff through rose-tinted glasses that I don't even own. I have to look at it through other people's glasses. So that's exactly what I did. Why bother to formulate my own opinions and pretend I like something when I can just get the internet to do all the work for me? I went to Twitter, the place where all level-headed people congregate, and I asked folk what their experiences of the Horizons tape were when they first received it. I didn't mention how old they must have been to have played this on first release, because that would have been rude, but I was definitely thinking that when I typed it. So old. Unlike me, nearly 40 years young and with only slight heart murmurs. There were a lot of responses. First up, a couple of hints that the Horizons tape is actually some kind of omnipresent piece of software that lands in everyone's laps eventually. Lee McCat says, in about 2000 to 2001, I bought up as many big collections of Specky games I could on eBay. I ended up with 26 of these and 22 chess. Blogos Power says, I didn't have a Spectrum, but somehow ended up with a copy. And a lot of the comments that did start to trickle through were initially as pithy as my own initial response to the software. When I got this with my Specky, it was competing with Robin of the Wood and Hypersport, so it never got a look in. I might have played Breakout a couple of times, but that was it. Whenever I need something to help encourage a larger-than-average turd to make its way further down its toilet adventure, the Horizons tape is always my go-to tool, has been for years. Go on, try it. It's totally fit for purpose. Alright, calm down, Gary. Your opinions have already been fired into the sun since the whole Kong debacle. It didn't take long for some really lovely opinions to start turning up. And this is really what I was looking for. I wanted people to give me the nostalgia that I didn't have. And so, stop the tape! It wasn't just the educational and otherwise games, it was the excellent intro to the Spectrum as well, with typing tutorials for the keywords, how the system worked with its component parts, etc. It was utterly magical for someone like me. And I can well imagine that would be the case. You see, a lot of what people don't realise, especially in the early 80s, is that just having something interactive on the screen, something that you loaded from a cassette tape no less, was a totally different world. Depending on the age at which you got this, the Horizons introduction tape was actual edutainment, even though it didn't really try to entertain in any real way outside one program. The whole thing is as dry as a cracker picnic on a Spanish beach. These things at the time were a great way of introducing what was possible, and also a great way to prove to your parents it's not a waste of time owning a computer, says Daff, bizarrely quoting herself because I think she briefly lost the plot. She was right though. This tape was supposed to be a brief mixture, an introduction, a quick, here you are sir, this is what your Spectrum can do, thank you and good night. Once you're done with the tape's initial introduction to the Spectrum, there are several other programs to delve into, each of which seems to have landed in the deep, long-term memory of my self-quoting Twitter nutcases. Checkered flag! Shouts Dale, confusingly, because there is no game called Checkered Flag on the Horizons tape. But I give him an A for enthusiasm. Moving away from Dale's enthusiasm for a second, the largest amount of comments I got about the Horizons tape was for the first item on the deliciously basic menu. The confusingly shortened throw the wall. That's because this is the only thing on the tape that could possibly be considered a game, all things told. The rest are just sort of things. Throw the Wall is as basic
I know, but Mum, I'm having to go at
as
this.
an actual game. A simple Arkanoid clone that sort of just does what Arkanoid does, but very, very basically. I mean, it's almost impossible to talk about because, well, look at it.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Loaded them all. Forgot about Through the Wall, which held my attention for 10 minutes, but then realised Psst was a much better game. Eyeballs. Lee Smithers there trying to get a dig in because I said Psst only has about 10 minutes of gameplay in it, and he's very upset about that. But aside from his passive-aggressive eyeball emoji, he's right. There is, at most, 10 minutes of entertainment here. Even that might be a stretch. However, Throw the Wall was a family favourite, although the spelling of through was always problematic for me. My mum and dad spent a lot of time playing that, turning my spec into a family activity. Other than that, I have fond memories of exploring the Horizons tape on day one. Throw the Wall, the only game my parents actually know and remember. I remember staring at Evolution for a long time. Throw the Wall is the standout. First program on side A, he means B. Trying to knock out that last half brick was character building. And they're not bloody wrong about that. I got to this point.
It's easy, so you might think it's easy, but it's not. This.
Instead. But you can see here just how much love there is for something so damn simple. In a lot of cases, this was the first game, or one of the first, a lot of people got to experience in their own homes. Sure, it might not have had longevity, but the memories stick around. There's a fondness there that's equal parts sickening and understandable. I played the Brick and Ball game for hours and hours. I loved it so much. If you love it so much, why don't you marry it, Robin? I guess this is the thing with childhood sweethearts, isn't it? At the time, you don't think love can get any better, but then you grow up and look back, and that girl you were besotted with when you were 14 is actually a boring Arkanoid clone. We've all been there, Robin. Probably my most used tape, the disturbingly named Through the Wall, was probably the first colour computer game I played at home. Trying to make a hole at one end to get the ball to bounce behind the wall was my mission in life. But the best thing on the tape was the character generator. In our budding homemade games phase, we could create our own IP-infringing Space Invaders games. Once that was mastered, we naturally moved on to the incredible Sex Invaders. The protagonist ship taking the shape of a classic cock and ball. Okay. It's too early for cock and ball, so let's just leave it there. Through the Wall. It's practically impossible to understand the connection people had with it when you're sat here looking at it in this day and age. But people would say the same thing to me about Oh Mummy. That's also basic and ugly and crap. But I still look at it the same way these poor people look at their beloved rubbish. And that just warms my young, handsome bones. Moving on then, we have Bubble Sort. It's an algorithm. But not the kind of algorithm that human robots use to make you hate foreigners. The kind of algorithm that makes you sit and watch as it sorts through some cards and sorts them into numerical order. Surely no one's got anything good they can say about this. I remember a card game named Bubble Sort. Is that right? Playing cards coming to life on the TV was strangely exciting, but I was disappointed when a king was turned over and it was just a big expanded K. There's always one, isn't there? Now, I know what you might be thinking here. Dan Tootle, the man, the myth, the legend, and yes, Dan Tootle, the man, the myth, the legend.
Cards is a really worthwhile purchase. I think it deserves a place in every Stephen Timberland's collection.
Blink if you need help, Dan. I honestly don't think you can. Bless him. Dan is probably right, though, even though I think he's the only person in the history of the world that even remembers this program. Back in the 80s, you had the choice of a couple of TV channels, or you can stick your Spectrum in and watch a computer put cards in the correct order. You could pick up a book and read that, maybe, but that takes a lot of effort when you could look at these cards. Look, I'm not doing a great job here, but I can assure you that I sort of understand a little bit where he's coming from. 80s kids were really caught in the halfway house where even the exciting things were pretty boring. It's just what we grew up with. Next up, foxes and rabbits. Foxes and rabbits! Yeah, thanks, Mattioli 2. I'm not sure what to do with that information, but I assume he likes it. Jake Warren went on to some actual words for this one. I spent ages on foxes and rabbits, changing the value so that the graph would go off the screen and it would need to redraw. That was how exciting my life was in the 80s. You can sense the theme here, right? All of us were bored and deprived of any joy. It's raining outside, you've already read this week's Beano. What else is there to do other than make a ZX Spectrum draw graphs? This program is essentially a recreation of the foxes versus rabbits population chart. You can fiddle about with the numbers and it plots those, and yeah, that's it really. If you didn't immediately record over the shitfest with some data worthy of being stored onto a cassette tape, Ocean's Kong immediately springs to mind, then there is definitely something fundamental. Who the bloody hell let Gary back in? Get him out of here!
Stop, man, I'm not.
Get up!
That's your mother answer.
Get up! This is a nice video for nice people. I'm not have Gary trying to snatch the nostalgia I don't have away from me, the little bugger. Next up, it's another simulation, and this one is Life. It's one you probably recognise for being on every computer system in existence. I remember Life. I played around with it and then became a bit obsessed. Read all about Conway, tried lots of different patterns for the cells. I found it the most intriguing program on the tape. As dedication is that? Reading a book? John Davies is clearly too high class for this sort of video, but it's a good segue into opening up something that hasn't yet cropped up. The Horizons tape was, unsurprisingly, a bit of a catalyst for a lot of folks to get their hands into multiple different subjects. For John, it was reading a book about Conway and then making cells do different patterns on his spectrum, and presumably he later got a job as a biochemist. I don't know, I haven't asked him, but let's just assume that's the case. As we get to the arse end of the programs in this package, we start to move more into that utility aspect of the whole thing. Although they're strangely spaced out. We have Draw, which is the 5th program, and Character Generator, which is the 7th program. But I'm going to lump these two together because they seem to attract the same crowd. Art nerds. Used Draw quite a lot until we got Art Studio. Used to steal a large writing code as well for basic games. Bleh. The Draw program on side 2 was my first introduction to graphic software. It blew my mind. It may not have been sophisticated, but it showed me that there was more to my little black box than just games. Yes, the art program is basic, but here's the thing. It's interactive. And when you've got a tape like this, one that barely lets you do anything other than watch graphs draw, this is like manna from heaven. Couple that with the character generator that let you make your own, well, but let's be honest, cock and balls. The best part for me was reusing the machine code routine that made the huge / resizable letters on the screen. And presumably he was making something other than a sex-themed Space Invaders, although this was the 80s, so probably not. The general output here, though, is that people were buoyed enough by this Horizons package to dip their toe into the coding world. Now, I don't really know anything about coding, but I know a man who does. The wonderful Mr. James O'Grady, otherwise known as What Ho Snorkers. He runs a channel in which he takes typing games, gusses them up with some better gameplay, and also he dresses up a lot. It's a bit like watching a channel you'd find on TV at 1 AM after you'd stumbled back from the pub. A kind of feverish dream of what on earth is going on, and oh, that's quite interesting. I challenged him to take a look at Throw the Wall, everyone's apparently favourite game ever made, and see if he could improve it. You can watch the full video of that on his own channel, which I'll
we'll have a look at this. Take a look at this one here. Ads again.
It's a great way to visualize it.
Hello and welcome to Back to 8-Bit. Today I'm going to have a look through one of the most historic pieces of software ever produced for the ZX Spectrum. This is the Horizons Software Starter Pack that was given away free with every single ZX Spectrum 48K back in the early 80s. If we look into the cassette, this is from my own personal collection, a tape that was produced in 1982 alongside that 48K Spectrum. This cassette was primarily introduced to help people understand how the Spectrum worked. It would have been many people's first attempt to have a go at a home computer, their first experience with a machine like this. And Side A was mainly set up to help people teach them the keyboard skills, where the keywords were on the ZX Spectrum, get them to help them to understand the hardware in a bit more detail, just give them a basic understanding of how a home computer works. And as I said, it's their first experience with one of these machines. And I guess they want to try and make it as fun as possible for them to do. Side B was a little bit more interesting. There was a couple of games included on Side B, and a few demonstrations to help demonstrate the capabilities of the ZX Spectrum graphics and sound. Again, something new for the home user to ever have experienced. So it's quite an interesting cassette. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through it. I will put the microphone on mute to minimise all commentary, just to give the just to let the playthrough make it feel as authentic as possible, really. Just so you knew what people had to endure going through their first experience with a ZX Spectrum. It's been a long time since I've played this tape, so fingers crossed it does work without any of the famous errors that you do get up on cassettes, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, I'm all set up and ready to go. As I said earlier, I will mute the microphone through the majority of the gameplay. I will have a quick play at some of the demos and the games, just so you can see what's going on. I'm not going to make too much of an effort with it. It has been a long time since I've played them. Plus the fact I am going to be recording this using my Mr. FPGA setup, as it's far easier to record and capture the images on the screen and the sound for the recording processes. As you can see, a normal ZX Spectrum has many keys on it. It has all the letters and keys and codes on there for programming. So imagine a lot of the Side A will involve this. However, I'm going to be using a normal keyboard, so please bear with me. But I will use my normal Spectrum as a reference to the key layout. There's the cassette player it's going to be loading it from, and there's the Mr. That's loading straight into the Spectrum screen. If we get into focus. Anyway, right, let's get started.
There's your usual stripy border that you get around the screen when the software was loaded onto your computer. You always got that. Now the ads are coming on again now.
What does the future of cruising look like? To answer, we need to ask ourselves questions.
Right, let's see if I can skip it. Yes. dee, 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 dee. That was the noise it made when it was closing your software. Horizons. Ouch. Took ages for anything for you know for your software to load on these old computers. This is a diagram here. This is like a sort of circuit diagram. This. A simple circuit diagram. That's the keyboard. The different parts are the computer, the ULA, the CPU, and the ROM, which is read-only memory, and the RAM, which is random access memory. This program will introduce a spectrum hardware. It will start from the inside with the parts that form the microcomputer. The most complex yet cheapest component is a microprocessor or CPU, central processing unit. If you pause this video, you can just read what you'll have time to read what it says. You can read from and write to RAM. This program is in RAM, but the contents of RAM are lost when the power is switched off. The only way you could save what you were doing, because Sinclair's Expression didn't have a hard drive. The only way you could save what you were doing on it was to record it on tape. But you know what I mean? If you if you're writing a computer program or something now, or a play or whatever, or a script, or a script or a book or anything, the thing is that the best, the ideal thing is not just to record it on your hard drive, put it on a USB stick as well, because if something goes wrong with your hard drive, then everything you've recorded is wiped off. Then you've lost all your work. There's tons of information you can get from YouTube. I mean, there's billions of video clips on it. That's how I think. I think you're lucky to get. You're lucky if one person. If you put a video clip on YouTube, you're lucky. You're lucky if one person looks at it. I think. I've been tremendously lucky to get the number of views that I've had on my snoring videos that I've had. Another ad again.
CEO of Nuvei, the Canadian tech company. How's a Canadian?
You can't find it. It's very difficult to find a YouTube clip where there's no ads on it. We were so rudely interrupted there, but there's a diagram of the keyboard on the Sinclair Spectrum. You pressed enter. It should have been pressed A. Pressing break stops the program. You can restart by entering run. That's a little exercise to teach you how to use the keyboard. No. Whoever's doing this is getting it all wrong. I would. Yeah, they pressed the. They should have been the capital K. They're getting it right now. They're getting them all right now. And press on the other key to continue. This is lesson 2. That's that noise again. How much more of there? These are this is an exercise in helping to type in the basic keywords. These are the basic commands, the commands in the basic language. BASIC stands for Beginner's All-Purpose Symbolic Instruction Code. I had to go at programming a desktop computer. I think it was probably sometime toward the end of the 90s. I think I had to go at programming a desktop computer in Visual Basic. I think you can still get whether they'll ever go at programming a laptop. No, I don't know it. These are symbols. This is lesson 3. I think the games that have showed you there, I think they're probably on the other side of the tape. The interpretation of a key is not only affected by the shift keys, but also by the present mode as indicated by the cursor. There are 5 modes. Keyword expected, letter lowercase, C capital uppercase letter. If you pause this video, you can have a read of what's written here. It's only worth doing a live video on YouTube if it's going to be a considerable length, really. I just...
Oh, no. I think the quote was, she thinks she's a girl, she won't be told otherwise. I think that was...
Lesson 4. The G cursor is used to produce the graphic symbols on gimbals. Oh, dictionary, what's that? This program is intended as a guide to the keywords used by the Spectrum Basic. It provides a brief description of each keyword as you enter it. A first command in a for next loop. It's all very complicated, basic. Well, it may have been called basic, but it was pretty complicated stuff. The Visual Basic is actually more simple. You got a manual with your Sinclair's Spectrum computer. I do enjoy living in the past, I do. Oh, the past is what the past is what's made the present, isn't it? At the end of the day. That's the entire contents of side A.
That was the first side of the cassette. I'm now going to turn the tape over, rewind it, and play side 2.
This is side B. Let's see what's on. I think these are all the games. I think side B's got the games on it that I've already showed you. Through the Wall and so forth. Yeah, he's got all Through the Wall, Bubble Sort, Evolution, so forth. Oh, if you pause this video, you can read. It doesn't say on the screen for very long, but if you pause this video, you have time to read it. What's written. I think Hungry Horace, that must have been on the Horizons tape. Yeah. The thing about Through the Wall, I think it starts off very easy at first, but it's easier said than done to destroy the whole wall completely. There's there's still some. No matter I think no matter how hard you try, you can't completely. You can maybe never completely destroy all the bricks in the wall. As you can see, whoever's playing this game has destroyed a fair number of them now, but I think them three on the right are going to be it's going to be very difficult to get at them. They're elusive, I think. The two on the right hand side are going to be, and the one on the left on hand side as well, are going to be completely very, very, very almost impossible to get at. Computer games have never been easy. I remember my mum having a go at this. Well, when he used to rent Nintendo 64 games, she had a go at playing Super Mario 64. And she was telling me, my cousin was a mobile hairdresser, and she was telling my cousin about how she was having a go at this Nintendo game and having difficulty with it. When she came round to do her hair. Bubble sort. A sorting algorithm applied to a hand of cards. With all, you know, everyone's living their lives with this modern technology these days, aren't they? The reason why we've started to have computers in the home is because of the ability to of electronics engineers to shrink circuits down. There was a big electronic computer built in the 1940s, and it was absolutely massive. It was as big as a house or something, or big as as big as a room anyway. They used valves in computers at first. Then they started using transistors. Transistors are smaller components as valves. What they did next, they found they could shrink transistors down to microscopic size, so they could put a load of them on an integrated circuit. And an integrated circuit is a chip, and the number of transistors they can fit on one chip doubles every 18 months. It used to. I don't know if it still does now. It's easy to film myself snoring because I'm fast asleep when I'm doing it, but this seems to be taking forever. But there's no point in doing a live video unless it's a long one, really. Foxes and rabbits. An example of a solution of differential equations. Too many foxes equals foxes starve. Put my phone in the other hand now. Give me right hand a rest. have to do that every so often when you're filming a long video. It's all very fascinating stuff, this, isn't it? It's charting the population of rabbits and foxes. I don't see how this could be any less fascinating than seeing someone snore personally, but you just have to take potluck with what you post on YouTube, don't you? Really, because it's like I said, there's billions of video clips on there, and people just see, at the end of the day, people just see what they want to see. And these old computer games are unfashionable in today's world, aren't they? Because this is 40 years ago. It's all ancient. I don't understand what's supposed to be happening here. Kind of seems to be boring, this. I don't know what it's supposed to be doing. Kind of, I think it's kind of meant to be an exhibition of the computer graphics facilities. This I think that's what the idea of this is. I think it's an exhibition of the computer graphics, the facilities of the graphics on it, capabilities of it. It's amazing how much everything's progressed in the past 40 years, I think. once again, this is, I think this just trying to demonstrate the graphics capabilities of a computer. This game, whatever game or program, whatever you could call it. I have to hold my phone with my left hand again now. Because that was like a sort of dice game. That I think that was character. I think this character acts a sort of thing where you design your own characters. I think you design your own graphics characters. That's what the idea of that is. Character generator. Yeah, it's something where you design your own graphics characters. So you got the character the letter P there. That is how the letter P is constructed. And you have to the idea of it is to you use a flashing cursor. To a different sort of character of your own invention. Quite interesting, this. I got a bit bored with that. They're moving on to the one called Waves. And the side, that's the entire context of side B. Hungry Horace mustn't. When it mentioned Hungry Horace, it must have been an actual. They must have been advertising the computer game itself. I remember playing Horace Ghost
That's
Game.
the end of the Horizons tape. Yeah, very interesting. I'd imagine it was found very interesting back in the early 80s to try these out. But looking at it now, it feels like you're looking through rose-tinted glasses at this sort of thing. It, you know, was a bit slow going and probably not so impressive to somebody in this day and age. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.